Hello, everyone. We are back on the Orange Visuals podcast. Today, we have a very different guest than we usually do. Usually, you'll see a lot of real estate agents, and today we wanted to feature the Real Producers Affiliate of the Month, Sarah Engstrom from Oasis Mortgage Group. Sarah, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
And this episode, we really want to go through her 23-year career of being a mortgage broker, how she got started, and what has the career been like? How has she helped homeowners, and just hear her why. So, Sarah, can you tell us a little bit about how you got started? I'm sure when you were 5, you weren't thinking like, oh, I'm going to be a mortgage broker when I grow up.
Come on, that doesn't sound really exciting as a 5-year-old. Like, I want to write mortgages for a living. No, it does not. It sounds terribly boring. Still to this day, it sounds terribly boring. So no, my journey, I guess I knew at a young age, like throughout high school and all my friends were figuring out what they wanted to do. My only answer was that I wanted to help people. But I also knew when it came to things like social work or I love animals, like, hey, maybe I want to be a vet. But anything that was going to be sad, I knew I couldn't handle blood, guts, gore, anything like that. So the helping people had to shift a little bit. And the strange part about my little path that took me into mortgage lending was it started with babysitting as a teenager. And I was a babysitter for a family who owned a local title company. So I worked for a few different title companies over a few years. And that kind of got me an itch, if you will, to say, what does this loan officer, loan originator thing mean? Because it seems like they get to play a bigger part in this process of someone buying a home. So I was intrigued. And at the young age of 23 years old, I kicked off and said, I guess this is what I'm going to try. And I have never looked back.
And what year was that?
2002.
2002. And then how has I guess one of the biggest things is how has the industry changed since then? If you think about it, I mean, that's now more than 20 years.
23 years, which just, I don't feel old enough for that to have happened. But it's been a lot of change. It's been, I guess I see both sides of it. I see the stable side that is why I think I'm still standing after 23 years because the core of what I do has never wavered. And that is because I care about people. I care about every single client. That has remained unchanged. As far as the industry goes, my gosh, like technology, the capabilities of what we can do, everything right now is so incredibly electronic. Realtors and lenders, there's so much we can do that doesn't require a face-to-face meeting or even phone calls. So I think it's really important now to balance that personal touch and personal interaction because so much of that has disappeared with what technology allows us to do now. So everything can be done behind a screen. And there's realtors in certain circumstances that will show a home on an iPad because that customer might be, on the other side of the world or the country. Yeah. So everything I can do can be completely virtual. And that wasn't as possible 23 years ago. So just finding that balance of embracing the technology, but also keeping some old school, I want to keep
relationship
personal. Yeah, the relationship is still the foundation. So that to me is not changed.
Mm-hmm, yeah. And one of the things that I noticed that you brought up while you were talking and something when we were talking before the podcast, and you have a very strong why of helping people. Was that developed before you got into the mortgage lending process, or has that been just a continual journey of you realizing, hey, like in this industry, I'm really able to make a difference in people's lives?
Yeah. I think the why for me, and I think I can speak for a lot of people and say that the why is ever changing or it's ever evolving. So even as, a high school kid, I knew I wanted to help people. So, I wanted to find a career that would fulfill, that will fulfill me in that way to support my why. But now I, look forward over 2 decades later, and my why has become so much more defined. And making that difference can be very specific to certain people. So still being able to make a difference, that to me, like if you look at it from a big picture aspect, that, this again sounds incredibly boring. Like, oh, you're helping with the financing, like a loan. I'm going to lend somebody money and they're going to sign a bunch of paperwork that acknowledges terms. Like, hello, snooze fest. But if you can insert a little bit of fun and pizzazz and organization and make it a process that's pretty simple and fun and embrace why are they buying this home? It's a journey that for the home buyer is a unique, whether it's a once in a lifetime or first time in their lifetime event. Um, People in my industry and what I do for a living, I can't treat that as great. I have 20 of these people I'm helping through this process every month. I think embracing the bigger picture and saying, this is a huge event for this person, for this family. And their why is because their family is growing or, because their kids just, left for college and they're empty nesters now and helping to embrace whatever chapter of their life and catering to that. I think that plays a really important part of the experience that we provide.
Yeah. For someone that's like watching, let's say they're in their late 20s, they're thinking of buying their first home, what role would you play in their journey?
Someone who's in their 20s and very likely is fully embracing technology and wants to do this whole process, oftentimes via text and maybe email if they're not, it's not too old school. Um, I'm going to show that person that the overwhelming parts of it, what they don't understand or what seems kind of fuzzy and a lot, doesn't have to feel that way. So I'm really, really good at the communication aspect. From the very first conversation I would have with that person to understand their budget, their goals, their timeline, the reason behind what they're doing and when they're doing it. From that first conversation to an organized process to get them pre-approved, understand their loan options, make sure they're looking at the right price point. It's in the budget they told me they're comfortable with, not just what they qualify for. But going through that process for that person is, I think, I love when that person tells me, you made this so much easier than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
That to me is a win. That is my ultimate goal with that person, whether it's the first time or the 12th time, being told that I made something that was complex and overwhelming really simple and maybe a little bit fun.
Yeah. For someone that is looking to get eventually into their first home, they're starting to work their first like real job after college, and they're trying to figure out, hey, how can I make the home buying process easier for me? I guess easier for yourself.
Yeah.
With the lending options.
Yeah. Um, Keep yourself organized. So just be prepared. Any lender for typical, residential financing when you're looking to buy that home is going to ask you for some documents that support your income, some documents that support your assets, right? So be prepared. Know that whether it's me or any lender going to ask for some recent pay stubs, maybe your last couple years of W-2s. You don't have W-2s, you just started your job. Awesome. Be prepared to provide your history of schooling for the last 2 years. So just, I would say that preparation and setting your expectations that you're going to have to provide some documents. Again, we make it very simple, streamlined, secure uploads. But doing your part just to be prepared and organized with those things only helps from the lender's seat to receive what we need to review quickly and efficiently and give you accurate feedback.
And I guess for someone that has a bad credit score and they're wondering, hey, like, how's that going to impact me in the loan process? I don't know if I should get started.
Yeah.
Is there any ways that they can improve it or?
Yeah. It's credit scoring is not an exact science. And while I'm not a credit repair expert, I've got over 2 decades of experience helping people and working through issues on credit. So I think the big difference with me is regardless of what that potential borrower's credit situation is right now, I'm going to give them a roadmap. So when someone comes to me and I pull a credit report and it's like, wow, okay, hot mess express. There's late payments. There's some collections. You got student loans that are past due or, it's a whole bunch of things. It's very common in my industry for a lender to pull a credit report. It doesn't look amazing and just ghost that client. And that really stinks. That's not fair, but it is incredibly common. I make it my mission to give that client an individualized roadmap. So everybody's roadmap is different, right? So depending on what it is, what derogatory items, what past due, maybe a couple of credit cards that are over the limit, I give that person a specific bullet point checklist of exactly what to do in order of importance. So I feel confident that when someone comes to me and their credit is in a place that they don't qualify to purchase a home, I'm giving them the tools and the details they need to get there. And now it's up to them to do the work. So I try to schedule with anyone like that a follow up. I give them the work to do and say, okay, when do you want to check in and give me an update on the work that you're doing and track your progress. And I have literally had some clients over the years that it might have taken 2 years and a long journey of a lot of things to work through. But it's pretty freaking rewarding when that person comes back 2 years later and has done all the things that I told them to, and they're able to qualify to purchase a home.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For someone that owns student loans and is worried about how that's going to affect them, how does that process usually work?
Yeah. I always say if you're worried about something, just ask the questions, right? I think a really common issue again is people being concerned because they think that there's something holding them back. So there's people out there with a lot of student loan debt. But you know what? You don't know the answer until you ask. So with me, the student loan debt is going to depend on how it's reporting to the credit bureau. It could be reporting as in, could be in deferment. You could be making income-based payments. There's a lot of different ways that a student loan can be perceived on a credit report. I'm going to look at that. I'm going to share what it looks like. I'm going to provide options and explain from a qualifying aspect how those student loans impact that person. So it needs to be a conversation. So there's a lot of people that the fear of the unknown is what holds them back. And typically a conversation it dampens that fear. Even if it's not the answer you want today, it's giving you the answer so that you know what your path looks like.
Going back to your career, I'm interested. You've been in this industry for a while and you've experienced a lot of growth. Was there anyone that you looked up to, or maybe you saw someone as a mentor in the industry where you were like, wow, the way this person operates their business? Because now you own your own business as well. Is there anyone that you modeled it after?
My answer to that question is probably going to be the opposite of most people. Because no, I didn't have that. I had some people definitely along the way that were inspiring or helped me understand things. I worked for a very small company for 20 years. And there were people that worked in that company that had their career excel to a level that I admired. But some of those people were, 1 foot out the door to retirement, or, they were on the downtrend, right? So at that company, I think I struggled because I was building something that nobody had built to that capacity before. And I will tell you that over those 20 years, the number of times that I got really frustrated and kind of resentful because I called it the Sarah will figure it out tour. And that is really what I felt, that I had to figure things out. So I literally figured out how to build a team. Nobody I worked with directly had done that before. I had some massive flop on my face failures with people that I hired that I thought would be great, and no. But eventually I figured it out, and I today now have a team that shows, wow, you can land some superstars. But I had to figure it out. And when that world kind of fell apart with that lender that I was with for 20 years and I pivoted to another lender, there was a lot of great tools and resources that I was given. But at the end of that 2.5 years, it was recognizing I don't have it here how I think it needs to be done. And again, I don't have a roadmap of how I think it should be done, but I know there's a better way. I know there's a more efficient way. I'm a little bit of a control freak, but that's working to the advantage of people that I work with. So starting my own company, again, it was when that decision was made last year to go out on my own and to switch from the retail lending world to the broker world. I had to figure it all out. I have a lot of great people in the industry and good friends and coaching groups to connect for people to give me honest advice. But it was, I guess we're going to do this and we're going to figure it out and we're going to prove that we can make it work. And I'm pretty happy to say that I'm doing it.
Yeah. What are some ways that you guys interact or operate with clients that you think is the way it should be compared to what might be the industry standard?
Yeah. That is an excellent question. And I think that our process and our communication is so well defined, and we have such a beautiful system that we make sure that certain communications happen every single time with the client, with the listing agent, with the buyer's agent, with the title company. We have everything tuned in so that the way I look at it is if a customer has to call and ask me what's going on or what happens next, I have failed. If a realtor has to call and ask me what's going on or what's next, I have failed. So my goal is I am answering those questions. I'm setting the expectations appropriately. Nobody has to check in because I'm doing it for them.
Huh.
So I have definitely come to be a big believer that over communication is not a bad thing. Um, I think it's so common in the real estate world, especially for a lender, to have really crap communication. And I can say that confidently because realtors tell me that over and over and over again. When I call them or they're like, you called me back. Like, seriously, is that all it takes to impress you? That's sad, but yay. So I know that that's a huge missing piece. And I feel like we have mastered that. We have a really, really good system. We communicate well. And again, the way we communicate is kind of fun. So, our clear to close update is not just like a boring email. It's might have like some fun dancing people in a GIF or, we jazz it up a little bit. So we make it feel exciting for everyone.
Human.
Yes, we make it more human and more relatable. And, we have a good time with it. This is you're buying a house. Like this is supposed to be kind of fun.
Yeah. Was there any fear when you started off and maybe in your personal life or like, man, I don't know if this is going to work out?
When I first started 23 years ago or when I kicked off my own company?
Business.
Because both. The answer is both to that question. Yeah, last year when I made the decision to start my own company, massive, massive fear, debilitating, crippling. I want to curl up in a corner and like suck my thumb kind of fear. That's very, very real. But I truly believe that the things that are meant to be the most, you have to push through that fear. And I realized that a lot of the fear, it's the same as what I tell my clients. You're afraid of what you don't know. And that's kind of what I was afraid of. I was comfortable in the retail lending setting for 22 years. It's what I knew. I was always supported on the back end by this company that was like, okay, everything's going to be okay because there's this entity behind me. And just taking the time to explore what it actually meant to start my own company and to have the control that I craved so much. There was a lot of fear, but I knocked that out by just a lot of learning and figuring things out. And what I didn't know, tackled it. I figured it out. There were some tears now and again, but I did it and it was 100% worth it.
How have you been able to develop your team, especially to go and have that constant communication? That means trusting team members to make sure that they're always on top of things. And you mentioned, hey, like people failed. How do you make sure that the person you're looking to hire is the right fit?
Yeah. The team that I have now, these 5 ladies, including me and 4 amazing ladies, they're just incredibly driven, determined people to always be their best. I can hire someone I truly believe with 0 experience in this industry. And if you have the right intentions and you have that drive, I can make it work. And I think I've just been blessed that now these 4 ladies that are on this ride with me, 3 of them were, with me previously for several years. And when I said, this is what we need to do, we're going to go out on our own, they didn't bat an eye. So the fact that they have the support and the trust in me to do whatever I thought was right, even if it scared the living crap out of them, that's immense. But now, because we started this and we're so small, they also know that they're like a founding part of something special. So it enhanced their why. They want to see OMG succeed. They love that they're a part of creating something brand new and proving that we can be better. And then again, just being consistent. So we have, project boards and all sorts of things that we operate by to make sure that every single one of us operate the same way with how we communicate, with sticking with our systems. And we call it the one more concept. Whatever we're doing, what's just one more little thing that you can do to make it better? And that's as simple as just an email reply to someone. Yeah, you're replying and you're answering their question, what's one more thing you can do to make them feel better or more relaxed or, whatever they need. What's that one more touch? And that's behind everything that we do.
I guess how long did it take with your business, or could you share one of the first experiences when you started with your new mortgage company where you could see, hey, I was able to make a tangible difference compared to where I've been in the past?
Yeah, there's been quite a few scenarios, and just we're not even 9 months into this yet that we have been able to provide financing to people because we are in the broker setting that we would not have been able to on the retail side. So having multiple lenders and multiple options is a huge game changer for us to be able to pivot and find the space that unique borrower needs to fit into. Um, we just had a closing recently that started out as an FHA loan. Um, the borrower needed down payment assistance. We found what was the fantastic option with the least amount out of pocket for him, which made him really happy. The FHA appraisal came back an absolute freaking disaster with repairs, with $30,000 short of the value. It was really hard, but we were able to pivot and switch him over to conventional financing with a different lender. We were able to find him a 2% grant to cover most of his down payment. That grant doesn't have to be repaid. There's no rules or you know, there's nothing negative about it. It is literally just genuine grant money. And that appraisal came back with no repairs. It came in at value. He closed practically doing cartwheels. Um, that was just an example of being able to pivot to like, all right, we got to totally switch gears and we got to take him down a different path. What is that path going to look like to make sure he's still comfortable with his payment? He's still comfortable with any money he needs to bring to closing. What is going to make this work? And we have the tools and the resources now that we can pull things like that off. It's pretty magical.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I want to get a little bit into the investing product side because
Mhm.
you told me you guys specialize in that as well.
Yeah.
For someone that is living in an apartment, that maybe just a couple, they're married, they're both on W-2 jobs, and they're thinking, hey, we're looking to get a house, but we're trying to see, hey, what maybe there's a long-term play in growing a real estate portfolio. What would be your recommendation to them?
Yeah. There's different ways to approach that. Um, People often start their investment journey with buying their first home that they're going to live in as their primary residence. The types of financing that I can offer on residential mortgage loans are for a primary home, a second home, and an investment property. So the first thing I do is help that person say, all right, are you going to live here or not? And oftentimes, as a first home, you say, yeah, I'm going to live here, but I might not want to live here for long. What if I live here for a year and then I want to go build? I want to buy my next one and build that portfolio, right? So we have options that'll, again, allow us to figure out what type of financing makes the most sense for that unique situation. Um, I think one example I have recently that is a good fit into what you just asked is a client that I helped him buy his first home in 2024, and it was a duplex. And because he and his wife moved into that duplex, it's considered their primary residence, which means their down payment is minimal, 5% on a conventional loan. I knew going into that his intention was, I want to buy more of these multi-unit properties to build wealth and to get income producing properties. So he's working with some other friends and business partners, and they're in the process now of buying other duplexes. And it's really kind of cool how it's staggering that he has these people that are going in as business partners. They're able to buy these duplexes, get the best possible type of financing because one of them is going to live in the property, but then build this over time and bring in rental income from these properties to essentially they're building a portfolio and they're doing it beautifully and pretty darn quick.
Mhm.
So I love seeing that person that's like, I've never even bought a home before. What the heck do I do? And now, not even a year later, that person is investing in his second and third properties and expanding that portfolio. It's awesome. It's inspiring.
How do you advise people for the ones that are holding out, they're thinking about the interest rate and they're just like, man, right now it's maybe too high. What would be your recommendation to those kind of people? Or maybe you have a crystal ball in your office, you know the future, If you could share.
Yeah. If I had the crystal ball, I would be on an island right now that I own. And yeah, we wouldn't be talking. So I would say to that person who's worried about interest rates, which is a whole lot of people, is have the conversation. It a lot of people you would be shocked to hear how many conversations I have that start with a fear about the rate, but then we actually start getting into specific monthly payments, and it's not nearly as bad as they thought. So again, common denominator, if you're picking up on it, is there's a lot of fear in the unknown. So you know what the rate might look like. We're in, sixes, five, whatever it might be with whatever loan product we're talking about. But that person right now might be enjoying a 2.5% interest rate that they got back in 2020 that they don't want to let go of. And I feel that. I understand it deeply. But having the conversation to understand what does this look like in terms of a monthly payment? And also that person might be sitting on a property that has gained so much equity that they have a beautiful down payment on their next home, that by putting enough money down, again, that monthly payment might be a little less than what they think. So have the conversation to explore the numbers behind the rate, because that really is where the impact is. And I will say, especially in the Central Ohio market, there is zero indication that values are going to be coming down anytime soon. Peaks and valleys are going to happen, little spikes, little things like that. Certain areas, locations might not see the same level of growth, but I strongly believe that Central Ohio is going to continue on a hefty growth path with all the projects that are happening that's bringing people to Central Ohio. So what that means is the inventory problem is unfortunately going to remain an issue for some time. That usually means that the home prices are not coming down anytime soon. So when you have someone who's like, well, I'm going to wait until the rates come down, like I'm going to try this next year. Well, but next year I can almost guarantee that home that you're going to buy is going to cost more than it would today. So let's look at higher priced home with a slightly lower rate. Today's priced home at today's rate, it's worth having a conversation because the numbers might make more sense to pay today's home prices.
Yeah. Could you explain refinancing to some people? Like, hey, where there's a lot of realtors that say, hey, you could get the rate and then eventually refinance down. What would that look like?
Yeah. A refinance is when, for any benefit to you, you are refinancing the mortgage to whether it's a lower interest rate or a shorter term, or maybe you want to take some cash out to do some home improvements. There's many reasons why a borrower would refinance their loan. But in today's world, the most common reason is they don't like the interest rate that they got that started in the sevens, or gosh, some people got eights over the last couple of years. So I think it's very reasonable for a borrower who's buying in today's current market that they might be refinancing in the next couple of years, because these rates are anticipated to come down, if not a little slower than what was initially anticipated. So someone who's going into a loan today might have an opportunity. Maybe it's 8 months from now, maybe it's a year and a half, maybe it's longer. But that person very likely could be in a place where they're going to refinance that loan into a lower rate or a shorter term or both, and save them some money in the long run. So that same person who's worried about getting into this home and what their payment's going to look like today, an important part of the discussion is there potential for improvement in the future? And run like the wind from any lender that says, I guarantee you're going to refinance, or I promise these rates are getting better. Like, those are words we should not be using. Industry experts, economists, there's all sorts of things that we lean on to say, this is the path that is likely. And if so, does this give you comfort to know that this payment might inch down a little bit in the next couple of years?
One thing I wanted is your opinion on the current climate of social media. Like, there's a lot of, I would say, loan products out there where it's just like crazy. It's like, hey, you could go and get this loan, like zero money down, like you could start your investing journey. Yeah. And some of it is legit and some of it is not. And what do people need to be looking out for these products, I guess you could say, that seem almost way too good to be true?
Sometimes if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. More so, I would say, is it's in the details. So when you look at social media, and it still absolutely kills me how many younger borrowers I talk to that are like, hey, I learned all this stuff on TikTok. And I know that's amazing in so many ways, but for someone who, and now I have to consider myself very old school, it's a different way of interpreting education, right? So anything that you're going to see on social media and reels, on TikTok, on all these things, obviously is designed to get your attention and to keep it, like, right, grab you with something flashy and sexy, but probably not then go into an immense amount of detail behind it, right? So what is being shared on social media is not necessarily incorrect information, but know that there's a lot more to it. So that is a great start of a conversation. I would encourage anyone, speak to a human. This is where I like to have a phone call with a borrower. And yes, to some of these younger borrowers, like it's not just a text message. Sometimes it's nice to get on the phone and actually have a human conversation, but allow us to go into the details of, hey, there's this no money down program, or there's this grant that I heard that I can get for a first time home buyer. Yes, those are real things. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to tell you what the pros and the cons are.
Hmm.
I'm not just going to tell you the fun, sexy stuff that sold you and got your attention and the flashy message. I'm going to dig in a little bit deeper and make sure that you understand not just the advantages and the cool stuff, but we need to talk about what the disadvantages are. Because maybe once you know those, that's not going to be the right fit for you. So I pride myself on, like, you decide. My job is not to tell you, do this and not this. My job is to make sure I explain enough to you that you can decide that.
What are some of the disadvantages of programs like that?
Some of the down payment assistance programs that are available, a disadvantage is that you might have to repay that down payment assistance if you refinance or sell that home within the first few years. So it sounds like great money. It is helping you with your initial purchase and drastically reducing, if not eliminating, how much money you need to bring to the closing table. But what if that prevents you from saving a lot of money in the next few years without having to pay that whole amount back? So those are the details that I dig into and make sure that all of the important aspects are understood. And that borrower still might choose to go with it, but at least I have the peace of mind that they understand the pros and the cons, right? I think that's missing a lot in my industry is we're talking about all the good stuff. We're burying the bad stuff. And a consumer deserves to hear.
Can you tell me about your program with animals? I forgot what it's.
Oh, yeah.
It was brought up on the magazine when I read it.
Yeah, Lend for Good. And I started this program back in 2015. I've always been an animal lover. So I mentioned, like, there's no way I could be a vet because I can't see animals sick and sad. I can't. It's just, I wouldn't make it. So I've always had dogs, had a lot of animals growing up. And I wanted to figure out a way that it was like, how can I connect my clients to giving back and, animal rescue? And in 2015, I kicked off Lend for Good, which is a program that I donate to a local animal rescue on behalf of the client that closes on a home with me. And that's kind of built over the years. So, I then started doing yappy hours. So we just go to like a fun little brewery or a patio or something, and I will bring in volunteers and foster parents with available dogs with some of the local animal rescues to give those dogs some exposure, give the rescue some exposure. There's other fundraisers that I do and silent auctions, and people still love bourbon, and I can raise some money from selling some bourbon, and that goes to a rescue. So I am super proud that now Lend for Good, it's not just Sarah anymore. It's my whole team at OMG. Every single loan that any of us close is a donation towards a local rescue. And we just exceeded $87,000 in donations since I started the program.
Wow.
In our most recent Yappy Hour this summer, 3 of the dogs that came to that Yappy Hour from the rescue were adopted, and 2 of those dogs were adopted from guests that met those dogs at my Yappy Hour.
Wow, that's actually amazing.
I know. So that, to me, like, we talk about making a difference, right? So I look at it like being able to help someone into a home, that's making a difference for them. But to pair that with this simultaneous of we're also doing something to make a difference for an animal in need is just massively rewarding.
One thing that I'm interested in is for people that are getting into the lending space that are new, they're just getting started. What would be your advice to them?
The Sarah will figure it out path was a really hard one, so I don't recommend that. Um, I recommend you find a mentor. Um, I had a very, very short stint when I started in 2002 that I was a loan officer assistant, just 9 months before I went on my own. Um, and she was an amazing woman. She passed away a few years after that, and she was awesome in so many ways. But man, if I would have had that, I guess, as a little bit longer of a journey to learn from someone from that aspect, I think I think joining a team is a beautiful thing to be able to learn from systems that already exist and are proven to be working. Um, I think anyone who's getting into this industry, align with people who are going to support you and cheer you on and show you what works, because there's no reason to recreate the wheel. There's too many of us that have figured out well enough to make the wheel work pretty darn well and not so squeaky, to align with someone that just helps you kick it off without starting from scratch.
What does the future look like for Oasis Mortgage Group? Is it like 50 lenders? Is it
Yeah. It's been hard for me to look at the long term just because this was so incredibly overwhelming for me to kick off last year. So what I did with my team was we obviously create individual goals. We do vision boards and fun stuff every single year to be very clear with our individual goals. Now this was the first time that I'm like, we don't just have individual goals, we have an OMG goal. So we established what we wanted to achieve in this first year. And I shared some of my insight on what I see for the next 5 years. And obviously I look a little bit beyond that, but for me, I am very, very strong in the mindset that smaller is better. Um, I worked for a small company for 20 years, and my company is much smaller than that one. But I thrive on the personal touch. I thrive on the personal attention and the experience. So while I see big things for OMG and wanting to introduce some new loan officers to us and increase our support staff, I never want to get to a point that it feels like a big corporation. You know, if I can't play a personal part in the day to day, then it kind of doesn't align with my long term vision. Um, but I would like enough support that I can make sure that I can enjoy my hiking trips. I can go on my Spartan races. I can go scuba diving every once in a while. Um, and we're already getting to that point that we have such amazing balance between our team members and support that one of us can step out and the other ones immediately come in to take over. And I come back from those personal trips and I come back to compliments from agents saying, Michelle was a freaking rock star. You know, she helped get our client in a contract on a Sunday night. Um, so I know I have the right team to help us go really far.
what drives you to continue? I mean, obviously now that you're a business owner and it's a little harder, like I mean, you have a lot more people that depend on you now.
Yeah.
What drives you to deal with all the
Yeah.
heartache? I mean, all the hardship, all the big problems.
For the first time in my life, it's not just Sarah. Being a loan originator for the 22 years, yeah, I had a team behind me, but again, there was always a company behind me. So doing this on my own and having these four women, I will not fail. I will not fail because I can't let them down. So I will push through the hard days. I don't let the days be hard days anymore. I let them be hard moments in a day, right? And I think just having that mindset of a level of determination that whatever it is, there's a solution, and being determined to find the solution. Um, these women are my biggest inspiration for supporting me. And beyond that, the number of realtor partners that I have and industry partners and people that I get to know better because of the RP community, the support that I have received from these people has been just so incredibly humbling. People who believed in me, who said, I was wondering why you didn't do this 10 years ago. Like, what have you been waiting for? Like, of course you did this. Like, of course, it's amazing. Of course you came up with a crazy name like OMG. That's so validating to me because having other people there to cheer you on and inspire you, that is why it won't fail. I won't let it because there's so many people that believe in me. So you just keep doing the right thing every day. You start with the right intentions. My business coach is a big, big believer. That's my favorite word from Cindy is intentional. And I think if I begin every day with the right intentions for what I do, my clients, my team, my realtor partners, I can't go wrong.
Yeah. No, thank you for the inspirational word. I really appreciate it. And I really thank you for coming on and sharing
Yeah.
all your expertise, especially because I would say on the mortgage lending side of someone that's not in the industry, it looks more muted. Like it looks
Sure.
like, oh, those are the guys in the office just
Right.
doing the numbers.
Right. Well, that's why I came up with OMG. I want to be loud. I want to be different. I want to stand out. I want to show people that this can be more than just the muted experience behind the scenes, right? So I want to have some fun.
Yeah. And through this talk, we could see it and it shows. So I want to thank you for coming on, sharing your unique perspective. Maybe in about 5 years, we'll have you on, see what the business is doing again.
I would love that.
All right. Thank you. It was nice having you on.
Thanks for having me.